Change management is our formalized process on how we handle changes in our environment. We don't just go in and make the changes because we have to. We go through this formalized process and we go through all the steps of how, why, where, and when. We already covered project management, and we can look at change management very similar to that process. And change really is a ton of things. It can be us applying the patches. It can be us updating an operating system, adding new servers, updating configuration on our firewalls, using a new image for our servers or workstations, anything where we're going to make changes to our environment. And for that, we'll have a change review board, which is made up both of IT and then the operational units that it's going to affect. And in many places, we would also have sub-boards, meaning the change review board is the overarching board, and then we would have change approval boards, technical approval boards. If, for instance, the server we're updating is a pharmacy server, then we would have people from the pharmacy team on one of the boards as well. This is what we're doing. This is how it's going to impact you. Do you see any issues with that? And here we most likely need to be that translating link that can translate the IT talk into real people talk. If in the example with the pharmacy server, we found a vulnerability in the software, we want to patch it, then we need to research, is this going to break anything else, just like we do with our regular patches? Why are we doing this? We need to clearly articulate, this is the reason for doing it, this is the good stuff that's going to happen if we do, this is the bad stuff that's going to happen if we don't. And the process here is very similar to a regular patch, but the change could have been IP changes, or added equipment, or whatever we're changing in our environment. It is also possible for the board to have someone from senior leadership on it, but in most places I've been, senior leadership is too busy. They have a range of things that the board is allowed to approve. If it's just regular operations, or within these certain parameters, then as long as the entire board approves it, go ahead and make the change. If for some reason there's something out of the ordinary, something that we don't normally see, and maybe doesn't fit within those guidelines, then senior management would get involved. And there are a ton of different frameworks and models that we can use for change management. Which ones we use really depends on our organization, what makes sense for us, what kind of structure we have, what line of business we're in, and 50 other things. In general, the flow will look something like this. We identify the changes there, we propose the change, we go in and we assess the risks, the impacts, and the benefits of both implementing and not implementing. What are we going to get if we do? What do we get if we don't? Then we will get a provisional approval. This allows us to test and see if what we're expecting to see is what's actually happening once we make the change. If the change looks like what we're expecting to see, we would move on. If not, we would go back either to proposing or assessing the risk. Let's assume everything looks right. Then we would schedule the actual change, because up till now, we've only done things in our test environments. Then we send out a change notification to everybody who's affected. And in large organizations, this can at times be a challenge to identify everybody who's impacted by a certain change. Then we would implement the change, and then we'll do the post-implementation reporting, making sure that everything that we're expecting to see is what we're actually seeing. In a lot of places, the test and the production environments are not identical, and that in some cases means we're not going to get the same results. This is very similar to the lessons learned. Did everything work the way we assumed it would? If not, how can we make it better next time? And we closely monitor and audit the changes, and there are two terms you should not confuse: change management and change control. Change management is everything, the entire process. And if you're familiar with project management terms, this would be the entire project. Initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing, which we already covered. Change control is the parts where we control the change. Makes sense, right? We've done all the pre-assessments, we've done all the planning, now we need to ensure that everything happens according to plan. We control the change. And if we go back to the project management methodology, some parts of executing and mostly monitoring and controlling would be where we manage the change. I hope that makes sense.